our society's run by fools. And I want my boys to feel confident. It's like, you know better than these people. And that's not, don't be proud, don't be arrogant about it, but just have the confidence that what do you have? You have the Word of God in your hand. You have the Spirit of God in your heart. And so you are light years ahead of everyone else because you have been equipped with light to take into the world, to bear witness for Christ, to do good works that glorify your Father.
Welcome to Grounded, a podcast for restoring the church to a biblical foundation. That's what we're about here. My guest today is a return guest. I don't know how many times you've been here now, Michael. 5, 6, 7, something like that. Pastor, author, repeat guest, Michael Clary. Thank you for joining me today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Steve.
Glad you're here. We are talking about something that we have both done. So this is not theory. This is practice. We're talking about raising godly, masculine sons. So my wife and I had 4 sons, kept trying for that girl. She was never there. We never knew the gender until the baby came out. When the last one was born, we were in the delivery room, and everybody in that room knew we wanted a girl. And when the baby came out, everybody went, "Aw," because it was a boy. Wrong response. Don't do that. So we've had boys in our lives. I have 7 grandsons now, 13 grandchildren, 7 grandsons. Some of them are 20, big old guys like you. How about you? How many kids do you have? How many of them are boys?
I have 4 kids, 1 daughter, and the rest are boys.
3 boys. What are their ages now?
19, 17, and 15.
Big old boys. I saw them at conference that I went to at your church. Big old guys. I sat right behind them in the row, right behind them with them and their friends, and I was very impressed with how much they were engaged with the conference and the speaking and the worship and stuff. It was wonderful.
Yeah, they love it. My oldest son especially, he really enjoys conferences, and it's a real blessing for him. So
sweet. Let's try and define what that is. What does it look like? What are we looking for to identify in a godly, healthy, Christ-centered, manly son in today's cultural climate? What are we looking for? Can you help us out there?
Yeah, sure. The way I think about it is, so there's the kind of the basic template or outline of what that would be. And the template that I like to think of is, what is the telos or purpose for which God created masculinity? And that is, every man is a potential father. And so the telos of masculinity is fatherhood. And so I think the godly masculinity would be fatherly. The virtues, the characteristics, the traits that are needed for godly masculinity or godly man are the kind of things that you would need from a godly father. So there's going to need to be a sense of command, of gravitas. He's going to need to be have strength, decisiveness. That's the general shape that I think should form every man. And that's what I try to cultivate in my sons. There are a lot of people that would approach virtue as androgynous. A lot of Christians will do this. And I think that is just a grave mistake.
Yes.
We're not raising androgynous carbon units. We're raising boys to be men and girls to be women, and there are virtues and duties and a whole spectrum of things that are required of each. And so you want to instill masculine virtues in your boys. And so with boys, it's going to be different from a girl. It's going to be, he will someday, Lord willing, raise boys and girls of his own. He will have a wife of his own, and he will need to lead her because the Bible commands him to do so. He is the head of his wife, and his wife will be called to submit to him. So it needs to be the kind of man that a woman can respect. A woman can submit herself to and trust that he is leading their family well. So I want a man to know what he's after. I want my boys to know what they're after. I want them to have godly conviction. I want them to be churchmen that will be in church every Sunday, that boys that know God's word, and they have a lot of agency. They're decisive. They're assertive. They have a direction. They know their own mind. So with my boys, I encourage them. I like it when they disagree. I like it when they think for themselves. Disagreeableness is a good trait. In fact, I was on a podcast yesterday where I was talking with the host about disagreeableness being a high testosterone kind of trait. Like People that are very disagreeable, high that trait disagreeableness, are also people that they have high testosterone. So it's good for boys to be disagreeable. And I'm like, what do you think? Like, why do you disagree? Stand your ground. Tell me what you think. Have your own mind. I really love seeing that develop in my boys. I want them to be responsible, take responsibility for other people, to not be a pushover, to be hardworking, to be assertive, to be daring, risk-taking. These are all the sort of things that come to mind when I think of what a healthy man can be, and to take those traits and to subordinate them to the lordship of Jesus Christ and to unleash them into the world for his glory. To me, that's a great godly man.
And I absolutely love that. I love every bit of that. But for me, especially the agency part. So as non-Christian psychologists and sociologists would measure masculinity and femininity, one of the traits they would pull out for masculinity is because of testosterone, there's a tendency toward greater agency. Agency means I will get things done. I will take responsibility. We tried to raise sons who will take care of the space they live in. So mom doesn't always have to make their bed, right? They're going to take care of the space. They're going to take responsibility for the space they live in. And they're going to learn how to solve problems. They're willing to deal with problems. If there's a problem, I'll step up. I'll fix it. I'll work on that. And they're going to take initiative. And you talked about that. They'll take initiative in getting a job, managing finances and so on. So if I had a daughter and she wants to marry your son, I'd want to know those things are in place. He's going to take care of the family. He's going to take care of them financially. He's going to take care of problems. He'll deal redemptively with the problems. This is all, you said all this. Yeah, that's kind of the model, what we're looking for, isn't it? Not much.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example of this, Steve. My daughter is finishing up her senior year of college.
What's she studying?
She is studying theology. She goes to Lee University. So, to answer this, I have to give you a little caveat. Like, Lee University is a Church of God aligned school, which is Pentecostal, but I'm not Pentecostal. She is not Pentecostal.
That's interesting.
But she wanted to be in an environment where she's outside of her tradition and to be sharpened by it. And her desire in going to school is, she wants to have a good, solid Christian education that she can then use to raise her children and educate her children.
Nice.
So she is finishing up school. She's been in Tennessee. And I was speaking at a conference 2 weekends ago down in Asheville, North Carolina area. My wife and I went to pack up some of my daughter's things from her school. And then I went to the conference. And then on the way back home, we met up with my daughter just outside of Knoxville, and we caravaned back to our home in Cincinnati. I tell you all this because when we left, we had 3 boys and we just left them at home. 19-year-old, 17-year-old, 15-year-old. My 17 and 15-year-old boys are still in school. And so they had to get themselves up, get their breakfast, put themselves to bed, do their homework, come home. They're at that age where, that's a little, they're not like adults on their own yet. But I know that my great-grandmother was married at 14. My grandmother married at 16. And my mom married at 17.
The times have changed, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
Now it's 30, if at all.
Right. Yeah. But what that tells me is that my youngest son, who is a teenager, 15 years old, he is the same age that my great-grandmother was when she was first married. And so at the very least, she was married for 74 years before she died. So he is at the age where they're capable of that. They're capable of grown-up responsibilities. But in our age, we expect less of our children. And there's this failure to launch, delayed adolescence, to where we just don't expect much of them. And of course, parents have to be intentional to put expectations and put responsibilities on them, because the culture isn't going to do that. The culture doesn't expect much at all. And so this was just a little test. My wife was like, she didn't even think about it. I was like, do we really want to leave the boys home for a few days? And my wife's like, they'll be fine.
Like, will the house still be there when we get home?
Yeah. And of course I grew up like the cliche joke was like, going to have this big wild kegger, while parents are out of town, and so I just joke with my kids. I'm like, don't do drugs, no parties, whatever, and just messing with them. But we totally trusted them. And we were gone. It was like, we left Thursday, or no, it was Wednesday. We left Wednesday and we did not return till Saturday. So Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, we were gone and came back Saturday evening. And the kids were fine. We did not think about them in a I'm worried about them way that whole time. And so that's that's the kind of thing that I want for my kids. I'm like, you know how to cook food. You can make yourself food. It's like, you don't need mommy to follow you around and did you do your homework, sweetheart? Did you, make sure you pick up your trash, clean out. It's just like, no, you know what to do. If we're out on a date, I could, if we're like 20 minutes from home, I'll just send them a text. Hey kids, we'll be home in 20 minutes. Make sure everything's cleaned up.
Nice.
And I'll come home and the house is clean.
And they do. Huh?
I mean, you have some parents that could be so suffocatingly oppressive to where it's like they've got rules and regulations and the kids can't breathe. And I'm like, no, that's not the way it is at all in our house. In our house, it is, we have expectations. You know what to do. You know how to act like a normal human being. And that's our expectation. And if you don't, then there will be, we'll have a conversation about that. Yeah. But that's agency. Agency is like, I can count on you to do what you're told and you're going to you have the initiative. And the thing is, like, don't hear me saying that my kids are perfect and that we've got it all figured out. It's like, I have my challenges, my concerns about every child at different ages. There's always something I'm like, I want this for this kid and I want that for that kid. So it's not like they're finished. They're all work in progress. But that's the target on the wall that I'm describing to you.
Yeah, I love it. Your story of being away and leaving the boys home reminded me. And so I finished my first year of college, Washington Bible College, came home for the summer, still 18. And my parents took a 1-week trip to, I believe it was England, and left me home with the dog, a German Shepherd, Max. And so I had that same thing. I had to take care of the house. Well, it was just me. I didn't even have brothers. My sister was away. So it was really easy. But, man, I ate a lot of steak and lifted a lot of weights that week. Tell you what, it was really cool. And I took Max to a carnival, which was a very bad idea because he was – hauling your German Shepherd around in a crowded carnival is just wrong. If you're thinking of doing that, don't do it. Let me get on to a second question or another question for you. So what about raising godly masculine sons in our unique time and place in history? Is it particularly difficult now? If so, why? Or is it not particularly more difficult now than other times might have been? And if so, why? What would you say?
Every generation has their challenges and opportunities. And ours is no different. And so, yes, there are unique challenges in our day, and there are unique opportunities in our day. I think the challenges are modern technology, modern culture makes it very, basically it's like they have to overcome the way that our society is structured to be able to develop into the men that they need to be. And it's because our society itself has low expectations of men, and they view men as buffoons or toxic or whatever. So they have to overcome that. Building some healthy discernment into them goes a long way to help them to overcome that. So it's just a frequent topic of conversation in our home of just basically how dumb and stupid culture is. And I say that I use those words dumb and stupid that might sound like I'm trying to be provocative, but I really mean that sincerely. It's like I want my kids to not think of culture as we need to treat, culture and unbelievers that run our society, with the utmost respect and hear their points of view. And I'm like, no, they're wrong and they're stupid. They don't know what they're talking about.
Could you be a little more clear about what you really feel there?
Well, our society's run by fools. Idiots that don't know what they're doing, and they somehow have found a way to be in charge. And I'm not saying every leader top to bottom, but generally speaking, that this is the spirit of the age. And I want my boys to feel confident. It's like, you know better than these people. And don't be proud, don't be arrogant about it, but just have the confidence that what do you have? You have the Word of God in your hand. You have the Spirit of God in your heart. And so you are light years ahead of everyone else because you have been equipped with light to take into the world, to bear witness for Christ and to do good works that glorify your Father. So don't look to the world to give you your cues. Like you take your cues from what you've learned at home, what you learned in your church, from the scriptures, and you take that into the world with strength and confidence. Know who you are, know who you serve. Don't shrink back. That helps them just to feel like, I know what I'm doing. I've got the ground under my feet. I know where I'm headed. And that is one of the greatest gifts that I feel like I can give to my children. I want to give each of them a sense that they know their place. And they're not looking to the world for affirmation or anything like that, but they get all of those things from God, from His Word, from their church, and by the Spirit within them, and then they can go out with a greater sense of purpose and clarity in the world. that answers a lot of the challenges that they'll face. There are challenges. There's economic challenges. There's finding a job. There's knowing what kind of career path. I mean, all that stuff is still out there. But what I'm describing is kind of the foundational layer that I want them to have, and they can build the other things on top of that.
You said a moment ago that they're not perfect, they're a work in progress and all that. And so are you, and so am I, by the way. But as a father, looking back, do you feel like you made some mistakes? And what would they be? I do. Like if I had it to do again, from my vantage point now, I would definitely do some things differently. And I think I'd be a better father to raise up our sons. But have you made some mistakes? What are they? And let me add to that. So you're a pastor and you live in the world. You see other families, you see other fathers, you see other sons. What are some of the mistakes you think other Christian dads might be making, regularly? This is out there. A lot of dads are making this mistake. If you could speak to that.
I can speak to my mistakes. One thing that I wish I would have done differently is my kids so they came of age, like we're right in the middle of the iPhone generation. And so it was this novelty, this new thing where internet in your pocket that you carry around. And so it was cool. And I like gadgets, I like tech. So I got an iPhone and, I enjoy using it. I like developing new tools and understanding how I can maximize my productivity. But also new, and there was concerns that were coming up about screen time with kids and that sort of thing. And so I was not like, I was very intentional about, I don't want my kids to get on screens, whatever. And I remember my wife, she called me one day and she was excited for the kids because they went to the library and they had, like prizes and stuff where they get at the library. She said, Isaiah, he won this iPod Touch at the library. And so that she just took the kids to like some library event and he won this thing and he had already had it out, was playing with it. And my son Isaiah is just like me. He's a tech gadget guy. And by the time I got home, it was over. It's like he now owns this iPod Touch. And for me to say, well, you're not ready for that, I'm going to take it away from you. That would have been devastating to him. If I could go back and do it over, I would just take it away.
Would you really?
I would.
Because
yes.
It proved to be a detrimental thing in his life?
Not detrimental, no. It was more of it introduced a variable that I had to fight against constantly.
All right.
So now it's like, okay, iPod time, we got to manage that. And then other kids, like, I want one. And so like it became this thing. And I did not realize when they were at the time just how much of an issue this would become of just managing screen time. I mean, it's like managing screen time is a significant factor in the life of any parent now, unless you're just you go straight Amish. There are 0 screens in the house, and some people do that, and I respect that. That's fine. But we live in a world where screens and gadgets and phones and devices are everywhere, and they're not 100% pure entertainment now. They are both entertainment and tools of productivity, all on the same device. So you could be checking an email and then, doing something for work, and then you get a notification from Facebook or Twitter, and then you go over there and you're looking at that, and you go down the rabbit hole, and you've lost half an hour, and it's just like it's this constant distraction, and that can be difficult for a child's mind and development to be able to manage those distractions. And yet, I want my kids to know, how do we use technology wisely, and for it to not dominate. I feel like I'm still fighting that battle, and I fight it myself, Steve. I'm like, I'm on my phone too much.
Yeah, me too.
I'm hooked on it. I'm hooked to it, or I'm addicted to it. Maybe that's what I say. It's like, it's just like, the notification, the draw. There's something out there. The FOMO. There's something out there. There's something interesting happening that takes time for me to and kind of brain power to suppress that impulse to go see what's going on social media or check my email or whatever, can kind of keep me from being as present in the moment. And so like the thing I regret is just that I allowed my kids to be introduced to that temptation sooner than I should have, and I wish I would have waited longer. I think my kids know. Every kid nowadays, they have some sense that these devices that we carry around are powerful. They're distracting, and we have to steward the time that we spend with them. My kids know that. We're all fighting this battle, and I don't know. That's something. If I could do it over again, I wish I would have had a plan in place before any kid ever had a device in their hand. One thing I will say though, like we got ahead of the social media thing. So social media was, my kids did not get on social media until I gave the green light. And it was nice. I think my daughter was in 10th grade. In fact, I'll tell you this story. My daughter was begging me, can I get Instagram? Can I get Instagram? All my friends have Instagram. That's how they communicate. They all use it. And I was just like, I don't like this. I don't want you to do this. I've seen what it does to other people. And so finally, she wrote me a 2-page essay about why she can handle Instagram in a mature way. And I'm like, okay, you have demonstrated to me that you can handle this. And so I gave it to her. The thing is, like, I know mature 30-year-old women, 40-year-old women that are hooked on Instagram, Facebook, and social media. It's just, it's the fabric of our world. And unless you are 100% it cannot happen, then you're going to be managing this temptation. And so that I think just screens, managing that is something that I wish I would have done better, but I think every parent has got to have some attentiveness to that. And for God's sake, do not have unfiltered, unrestricted internet in your home at all. It takes a lot of time and effort to lock it down and to have the controls in place and the screen time and the filters and covenant eyes, whatever you use. That stuff will rot your child's brain.
So these
just as it'll rot a grown-up's brain.
Yeah, these are peculiar problems that we face right now in our time and place in history. Like 100 years ago, this wasn't a thing. Well, when I was raised as a kid, this wasn't a thing. There was no internet, there was no social media, there were no iPhones and whatnot. In fact, when we were married, and I think until our first son was probably 7 or 8 or something, we didn't even have a television because we didn't want one. I was Mr. Luddite. John Piper would have loved me. Like, I didn't want a TV in our home because there'd been a TV in my family's home, my mother, my father, my sister, and I, and the TV was just on every evening throughout the evening. And I don't know why. As a kid, I didn't like that. And so I became a Christian then when I was 18, went to Bible college, met my wife there, we got married, and neither one of us wanted a TV. Frankly, between you and me, I'd still rather not have one. We have one now. But the first TV we got wasn't to watch TV. It was so they could play video games on. And these were like ancient, the beginning video games. But then that brought in a new problem. The problem was it's time to turn it off. No, Dad, I'm almost at the level. I can't stop now. And it was that thing. So it was hard managing that kind of screen time even then. Let me tell you another story. So our oldest son, Nathan, who is in his late 40s, and they have a son and 3 daughters. The son is 20, just got home from his first year at Cedarville University, by the way. They have one cell phone for the 4 of those kids that they have to ask for to use. So they can turn it on, use it, text their friend a little bit, and then they're done. Then the phone goes back to mom. So that's how they've chosen to manage the problem of screen time. By the way, my son and his wife, they are definitely not slaves to technology themselves. They drive me nuts. I text them, and I might not hear back for 3 days. They're definitely not slaves to technology.
People like that drive me crazy.
But that is a thing in our day, isn't it? Screen time.
Yeah. Whenever I was younger, I remember going to the video store. You had the Blockbuster, but then you had your mom and pop video stores. And there was these rooms in the back that had a curtain. That was where all the dirty movies
were.
Where
the evil stuff is.
Yeah. And I thought, like, okay, you had to go and walk into a store and walk into a particular room and to be seen going in there and, enduring whatever judgment that you might feel from people kind of stink eyeing you on the way in there in order to see pornography.
Now.
Think about how it is now. You don't have to seek it out and overcome social inertia to see it. It's looking for you, and it'll find you. It'll track you down. It'll pop up into your advertisements or email. It appeals to people with poor impulse control because it could be a pop-up ad or a phishing or an email thing that reels you in, and in a moment of weakness, it'll draw guys in. On the one hand, you want to. So as a pastor, you and I, I'm sure we've probably encountered this similar phenomena. as a pastor, you want to warn and to protect and to prevent men from falling into that. And so you want to I want to come down on it as hard as I can. And on the other hand, I know like men are in the fight of their lives, and temptation. It's like, just like internet is always on, the temptation is always on. And there's no more, it's no longer the situation where you have to go through so much, overcoming so many obstacles to go and find it and seek it out intentionally in a premeditated fashion. If it's there and it just pops up onto your on your phone or on your computer screen in an instant, a moment of weakness, you can fall into it. And so I know like men are struggling, and so I have compassion for them, while I also want to exhort them to fight, and to fight hard, and to fight with all the tools that they can muster, because it is that deadly, it's that poisonous. I mean, it warps people's brains, it ruins marriages, it causes so much harm. That is a unique temptation that we face in our day, and we got to protect our boys especially. But not just our boys though.
Girls too.
It's girls too. It's girls too.
It's really marketed to girls now, and this is all part of, what does it mean to be a woman now? Well, it means to be like a man. Well, what's a man? Well, that's sexual immorality. So I want to be sexually immoral like the men is the thing in our day. So this is so big. I really fear I think a lot of Christian parents let their 18, 19-year-old boy have a cell phone. He's living in their house still. And they've never even talked with him about, or maybe they've had one conversation. Now watch out for porn, and then, okay, he'll be okay. He's a good Christian boy. You should assume that fiery darts are flying past your boy's head all the time, and he's either losing the battle or really struggling with the battle, or somehow there's a battle going on around him. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. You just have to assume. Yeah. Every man is facing the temptation at least.
Yeah. I fear for our whole nation, man.
Yes. I remember thinking this through years ago, when it started to dawn on me that iPhones and smartphones has now made pornography accessible, and digitized. I mean, it used to be like VCR tapes. I mean, it's like the video store was telling you earlier. Huh. But it's now streaming, and people are content creators, and they make their own porn. And there's like high definition video that you can create with your phone. And so you have OnlyFans. You have people that are they're self-made pornographers. And I was just like this will have devastating consequences. And the nature of pornography is that it's the law of diminishing returns. There's what it takes to get somebody aroused. There'll always be an increasing level of novelty or kink or perversion that somebody needs as they kind of go down that rabbit hole, and it makes it worse and worse. And so there's, just watching people have sex on a screen is no longer titillating enough. So now they need something a little more perverse, a little more edgy, a little more bizarre, and it just escalates and escalates, because that's what sin is never static. Sin wants to escalate. It wants to have more and more and increase, because it's got this insatiable appetite, and that breaks people's minds. Of course, our nation is in favor of gay marriage now, because they've been watching gay porn. They've been seeing 20 years of gay porn on their phone.
Well said.
And so it's like, of course we're going to support it. We don't think it's weird anymore. Whereas when I was young, when I was 20 years old, homosexuality was weird and gross, and you'd be like, sick, nasty.
And everybody's
it's just so normal now. It's like people don't think anything of it.
Changes the subject a little bit. So there's an all-out war on masculinity in our day, right? There's a war on manhood, on biblical manhood. All the evil sides, and most of the sides of feminism are evil sides. They're all the evil parts of feminism going on in our culture. And feminism has done a pretty good job of feminizing our nation, our land, our institutions, if you ask me. Did you find it particularly hard to raise masculine, godly sons in this era because of that? Or did you feel like somehow that didn't really get to your sons, didn't affect your sons? If it didn't affect your sons, how come? Why not?
I would say, by God's mercy, I think we were able to turn that into an asset, because it gave us something specific. It kind of, the mask was off in a way. Mm-hmm. And so whenever you're getting explicit messaging from the culture saying men are this, women are that, then okay, great. Now you're saying it out loud. You're putting it out in the open, and so you're giving us something to work on and to refute. My kids would kind of roll their eyes at me because whenever we'd watch a show or movie or something together, I'm like, okay, let's, like, what did you notice? What did you notice in there? Like, what was the messaging? And we'll kind of pick it apart. And now it's like they all do it sort of intuitively because it's like their movies are preaching. Disney movies, they preach. Every movie has a lesson, a moral that they're trying to say, here is the moral of this story.
And it comes from a worldview.
Yes, it comes from a worldview, and that worldview is explicitly godless, anti-gospel, anti-Christian, anti-white straight males. So, and it's out in the open. And it's just like, guys, this is propaganda. They've learned to spot it. And so the fact that that messaging is so overt, and I think they've overplayed their hand, and people that put in a minimal effort of discernment can spot it. It's been in some weird way helpful in our family because it's just we've been able to refute it whenever we see it.
Yeah, I love that. You've discipled them in how to think about this. One of the most important things I did for our sons was just model godly masculinity. Just model it. I mean, they got to live in a house with their dad who modeled that thing all the time. I'm sure imperfectly, right? If I had to do again, I'd make some changes. But I modeled it. And maybe that more than anything else is what disciples them along and turns them into like son, like father. Do you think so? Is that a big thing?
Oh, yes. Yeah, and the thing is, Steve, like you and I are pastors, which means we talk for a living. And so we're used to teaching and articulating doctrine and worldview and lessons. A lot of men that I know, women are the more verbal sex. They use more words than we do, and so men can. Just the strong silent type is a trope or a stereotype of a certain kind of man that's fairly common, because a lot of men just don't have a lot to say. They have a lot going on in their head, but they don't have a lot to say, just because it's not as easy. I would hope that men that would watch this or listen to this would be encouraged to know that your presence accounts for so much of what, you want to speak. You want to, as much as you can, be able to articulate things. But even in the things you can't articulate, your presence does speak, and it speaks volumes. There's something, it's a powerful way that God made human beings to where we naturally desire affirmation from our Father. And so if a dad just simply doesn't like something and he doesn't explain it, then the kids are going to naturally feel similar. Now, there's the rebellion, and it's not like down the line they become clones of you. But kids generally want to please their father. And if the father really loves his children, and is affectionate towards them, and these things don't require any particular skill. You don't have to be a theologian or a Bible scholar. If you love Jesus, you take him to church, you read a chapter of the Bible at dinner, and you pray over your family. These are simple things that just about any Christian man should be able to do. You have genuine love and joy for Christ, joy in your home. There's an affectionate spirit about your home that's healthy and good for kids. They enjoy that. That gives them a sense of stability and calm. And then, I don't like that movie. I don't like that song. I don't like that neighbor. I don't like your friend that dresses that way. Whatever it is, that's going to mean something to your kids, even if you can't explain it, even if you can't say, here's my Bible verse for why I think that's wrong. You're just like, I don't like that. That's going to have an imprint on your child, because they will internalize a lot of your own beliefs and convictions to a degree. I think that could give a lot of dads hope and confidence that you do have what it takes. Even in this crazy, challenging world that we are right now, it's like you have what it takes. Like, be a strong man that holds to your convictions, and that testimony, that faithfulness to Christ will stand out, especially in a world where few people are willing to do that. That gives ballast and weight to what you believe, and your kids will internalize that, and they'll benefit from it, and it will help them to grow up into godly men and women.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with that. I think that you can model so many things that even if you're not a real verbal guy, and like you said, some guys aren't, you can model things like you want your sons to be agentic, then model that. The house isn't all run down, things are falling apart because you fail to fix things. You get up on Saturdays and you have a to-do list that's 9 things long, and you start at number 1 and get it done. You fix that thing. That problem is solved, and so on and so forth. You can model those things, and it goes a long way. You can also model how to love a woman, right? That's important.
Amen.
That's another thing. I'm going to just go to a final question here, and that is, if you could leave fathers with one big idea or one conviction about raising sons in a culture that is hostile toward biblical masculinity, what would that final thing be?
I believe it's Aristotle that talked about ethos, pathos, logos. The ethos part, that's something that a guy at church has been talking about, and we had a conversation about it the other day, and I like that because it kind of gives me the word that I need to describe what I'm saying. It is godly men the idea of ethos is just that who you are is part of your message. And so as a pastor, Steve, you know this, like you can craft brilliant sermons. And so you can have the logos part, which is the logic, the arguments that you make, the content of what you say. There's the pathos, which is the rhetoric, the affect with which you speak, speaking with conviction and depth. But then there's the ethos, which is Steve Hartland is a point in every sermon that you preach.
Interesting.
Just who you are as a man. And I would say that is part of the curriculum that every father passes on to his children. The lesson plan includes his own presence, his own character, who he is as a man. There was a study. It was done in a Scandinavian country many years ago. The study tracked church attendance based on the parents' religious habits. And what the study found, there's some fascinating data. And this was a very substantial study that was conducted by the government, in fact, using census data. Whenever the father was a regular church attender, the children followed suit at a very, very high level, like 80s or 90s percentile, as I recall, regardless of what the mother did. Whenever the father did not go, it doesn't matter how much mom went. The kids drop. A non-church attending father has a significant decline with their children. And so it doesn't matter how faithful mom is. If dad doesn't go, the kids largely will follow suit. And that tells me something. It's like kids get something from their dad. They get from their dad what is really important in life. And of course, that's not to say that the mother can't teach them things like that, but the father is the one that really instills that at a deep level. If dad values this, then it's valuable. That leaves a lasting effect. One of the things that I found especially interesting in that study was that if dad went to church and mom did not go to church, you would expect that the kids' church attendance would take a hit because mom didn't go. But in fact, that was the highest group. It was dad that took their kids to church and mom didn't go, because it was like saying, dad's going to go and it doesn't matter what mama thinks. I'm going, kids, you're going, period. And that instilled something very deep in the children. And the father, I think it probably says something about the type of man that would go to church and be committed, even if his wife wasn't. And we all know men, it's like they go to church because their wife goes. She's the one that kind of gets the family going. And those men, those are weaker men, and but the fact that they're there will have an effect. That's why I tell dads, if you are just a godly man, if you are just a basic Christian that is a faithful doing your duty, going to church, giving, serving, plugged into the life of the church, a class or small or whatever it is, just if you're a normal churchman, you're 75% of the way there. Because your presence, your life, the ethos of your life is the sermon that they internalize, even if you don't have conversations where you explain doctrine to them. That's the icing on the cake. That's great if you can do it, but you don't have to do all of those things. Show up and just be a godly man that would honor God, that we would point to, say this is a godly, ordinary Christian man. and your kids will internalize that and they'll benefit from it. And I think it's the best thing, one of, if not the best thing that you could give to your family.
That is a great place for us to land this plane. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, as always. I look forward to having you again sometime soon.
Thank you, Steve. It's been great hanging with you.
And to all you listeners, thank you for joining us on Grounded today. Hope you'll come back again. See you then.